Greetings. This is Justin Allen with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. I'm sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take a measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked to the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hello, everyone. Today, we will be talking with Laura. Laura is a family nurse practitioner located in Florida. Laura recently quit her full-time job to focus her energies and time on her business. Laura started an IV hydration practice about 6 months ago, and it is doing okay, as she puts it. She is looking for help with marketing, how to grow her practice, and generate an income that would replace the salary she was making in her previous job so she can break free. Hey, Laura, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for hopping on this call. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Anyways, bring us up to speed with where you're at in life. How long have you been a nurse practitioner for, what you've been doing in terms of work and that sort of thing.
Okay. So I have been a nurse practitioner for about 6 years. I started my career in women's health, even though it's family nurse practitioner. Worked for women's health for about 5 years, got burned out, went over to aesthetics, and then realized that maybe it wasn't the job. Maybe it was that I always felt like I could run wherever I was working for better. So thanks to the elite MP, I decided to jump in with both feet.
All right. Fair enough. So you're basically sick of making other people rich.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was kind of like being in school. You feel like you could teach better, or being in a job.
Yes.
And you're just like, I could run this better. This manager's an idiot, right?
Right. Like
Right.
if I just could find that perfect job that would just, listen to me and do things the way I want to do them. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Listen, if you have the mindset of an entrepreneur, you will never, ever be happy or satisfied working for someone else. It just ain't going to happen. You're never going to find that perfect job. It's just not.
No, I've tried and no, it doesn't exist.
Right. One of the most perfect jobs I ever had was working at a go-kart track. That was the best. Yeah, that was like the best job I ever had. I mean, come on, that's not going to pay the bills. Right.
No.
Anyways, though, okay. So you started an IV hydration practice, and you quit your job just recently, right? Like a month ago?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that?
I was working in aesthetics, doing laser hair removal, Botox, fillers, the whole 9 yards, cool sculpting, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And so while you were working there, you started this little IV hydration practice on the side.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Where are you at with that?
So I just rented a small space in a masseuse's office or a massage therapist's office. I also am doing mobile IV services as well, just to keep that. Not everybody wants to come. Jacksonville is huge, so not everybody wants to come to the beaches location. And a lot of people that I've serviced have felt like, well, I don't feel good. Why do I want to get up and get in a car and go somewhere else? So.
Sure. And how is business going?
It's okay. Like I said earlier, I've had, since I've opened probably 3 or 4, maybe a total of 10 calls. While I was working full time, most of the calls came in when I was working. So that was frustrating, and it was a little bit of a kick in the pants to, just commit to it fully. but most of it is just trying to get in front of the people. I have a great website. I just need to drive traffic to the website. We have an Instagram. We have a Facebook page. Again, just needing to drive traffic and create legitimacy for those pages so that when people are looking, they can find us. When they Google, we come to the top of the page. We're working on putting Google ads in and implementing that, and Facebook ads as well.
Okay. So you've been open for 6 months and you've only seen 10 patients?
Yes.
I wouldn't say that's okay.
Part of that was within the first 3 months of us opening, we got sidelined by another nurse practitioner. Our original name when we opened up, after listening to your class, wanted that hydration aspect to it. So we opened up a business that was called Hydro IV Lounge. We did a quick Google search, looked for other businesses, saw, there's this other business in the town, next town over. Well, we both have hydro. It's a descriptive term. We probably are not going to have any issue with it because if you look at places like Orlando and Las Vegas and Miami, there's an IV shop everywhere. Their names are similar. They're all over the place. Never anticipated that this would be a problem. So I guess doing one of the local events here in Jacksonville, it came to his attention that we were both called Hydro something. And he slapped us with a cease and desist because he claimed that it was copyright infringement or trademark infringement. And so he asked us to change our name. And since we were so new into the business, we decided that it would be easier just to change our name to something else. So we almost had to restart everything.
Yeah, I don't think that would have been a battle worth fighting. You didn't.
No.
You weren't established. You wouldn't want to go to court over that. Yeah.
No. We didn't want to be associated. Like his thing was, well, I get calls for your company. I'm like, dude, you're welcome for the free customers? Question mark.
So,
right.
So you really only been open for 3 months then, but you've still only
Correct.
Okay. Is the market competitive around you? Is there a lot of people doing this, or do you feel like that no one just knows you exist?
I feel like there's I don't think it's completely, it is competitive slightly, but I think the biggest issue is nobody knows that I exist. I have gotten a lot of business just because, or the few calls that I've had that people I've been able to service is time-wise, because there was a couple who needed a hangover cure. And so my competition that they had called couldn't see them for another few hours. And they called me next. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there in an hour. So the other one was they could not service the patient, was feeling bad. He had COVID. It sounds like he's having the COVID lasts longer. I forget the name of it right off the top of my head, but people are experiencing symptoms after COVID, even though 3 weeks later, they're still feeling lousy. He wanted an immune booster bag just to see if he felt better. And one of my competitors has a mobile van. So they'll drive to your house, but they won't go inside your house. You have to come to the outside into their van. And the couple was like, no, thank you. And the other business they called, they said they couldn't see them until Sunday. So I was able to kind of nab a couple of people just because of the convenience and time factor.
So what is this telling you?
That I'm not getting called first of all. But also people, from a consumer perspective, they want that speed. So if I can't, this is something I'm going to have to be careful with as I get busier in a solo practice, that I'm going to have to get to a point where I'm have a business and then hold my breath again and hire another nurse or a couple of nurses to service these patients.
This is a good lesson right here that you're learning.
Sure.
Is that the patient who's willing to pay cash? That's what they want. They want convenience. And so this right here is just a lesson for, everyone listening to this. If you can provide them that convenient care, you got business, right? And so they called the bigger players out there. They were too busy. They called them probably because their Google listing came up first, and probably because they have a lot of Google reviews, but you don't. So they didn't call you. You were next in line. Then they called you, right? Right.
Correct.
So 2 things here. You need to get that listing up. You need to have lots of Google reviews. It's so important.
Yes.
Okay. I think almost every single podcast I've recorded up to this date, this has been an issue. Like, you've got to have Google reviews. It's so important. Get those Google reviews, make sure you're ranking up high, and make sure that you can
Sure.
deliver convenient same day care. If you can even deliver it within an hour or two, I mean, you'll kill it. But that's going to be something that's going to just develop over time. You'll be able to do it at first yourself, not a problem.
Sure.
But once you get busier and busier, just exactly like you said, you're going to have to hire an RN or someone else to help you out.
Right. Speaking of Google reviews, what do you suggest as far as your experience of getting those reviews, especially as a new business?
Ask every single patient that you have.
Okay.
Ask every single one of them to leave you a review. Like, please leave us a review.
Okay.
Like, it's so important. Please. You know what I mean? So
we do that.
You got to ask. You can even give like free coupons out or whatever for the review. Give us a review, get a free B12 shot or something. I mean, there's lots of ways to get the review. But I mean, if you deliver good care, affordable care, convenience, great customer service, and you just ask them, most of the time they'll give you the review immediately after the infusion's done.
Okay.
I think that maybe
and I thought of sending a follow-up email and say with a link to the Google review.
Exactly. And in the discharge paperwork, leave us a review, whatever, or the email, leave us a review, get a free B12 shot the next infusion, for example.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's really, really important. Now, what are your expenses like in this business? So let's kind of just get some basic financials out of the way here so we can kind of understand the situation a little bit better. So how much is this costing you to run, the office, supplies, that sort of stuff? What's your expenses looking like right now?
So my office expenses probably around the rent there is about $400, $475 per month for the little office space. That includes utilities, the IV supplies. I mean, that's my biggest issue or biggest thorn in my side, is because once I open a vial of vitamins, I've got 30 days to use it. So that, coupled with paying attention to the beyond use dates of the supplies too. When you order compounded medication, not every pharmacy has a lengthy beyond use date. So just kind of, it's a juggling act to make sure that once I open a vial, then I need to push traffic to the vials that have opened, the types of IV bags that have already opened, and said, hey, I'll give it to you half price for your family and friends and people like that, just to get social media content and kind of divert some of that cost into marketing.
Well, once your volume picks up, this isn't going to be much of a problem. Yeah, this isn't going to be much of an issue for you, especially like the ingredients that'll be used, often, like the magnesium and the B complexes and those kinds of things. I mean, you'll go through that stuff like candy. Yeah. Okay. So then your expenses right now, the month to month is, so you got $400 in rent. You don't have to pay any kind of utilities or anything there, right?
No.
Yeah. No. Okay. And then your supplies. I mean, supply costs come and go with volume. So that's kind of a hard thing to determine. Yeah. So basically right now, this thing is extremely cheap just to keep running.
Sure. And I have a very kind collaborative physician. He's not charging me very much right now. As volume picks up, obviously we'll have to talk to him and increase his price. But I think he's charging me $150 just to exist. And I do live in Florida, so malpractice insurance is very, very expensive. Brexy does not cover us anymore here in Florida. So the only insurance company that covers, especially in the IV market, or I guess Brexy does not cover us in the IV market. We're considered cosmetic, which is a good thing, I guess, because as I have a non-compete with my prior employer. Right now, it's not worth my time to try to fight with her over it, to do Botox and fillers. So, which I've been trained to, I can do, but I have that non-compete, and it's just, I'd rather just focus on the IV, get the IV business going, and then kind of delve into those other cosmetic services. But the good news is, I guess my insurance won't cost any more than it already is. So it's kind of at a max price.
Are you using CM&F Group?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So,
and I'm covering my collaborative physician as well.
Yeah. Okay. How much was that for the year?
It's $4,000 a year.
I mean, that's not terrible,
No, it's not.
Really
it's
not.
Part of the cost. Right. I mean, the way I look at it, it's part of the cost of doing business.
Exactly. There's no way around it unless you don't want to have malpractice. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, if
we're not doing that. I worked hard.
Yeah, fair enough. There are docs out there that don't have malpractice insurance. They're just like, well, sue me. I don't got it, because it's like everything's
my
titled and like there's their kids' names and stuff. Yeah.
No. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't think it's legal, but I mean, these are things that I've read. And
Yeah, doctors they can do pretty much whatever the hell they want. I mean, here in Florida, we have to, as a nurse practitioner, to do cosmetic procedures, we have to have a collaborative physician who is a dermatologist or plastic surgeon. However,
Right.
you can get an autonomous FNP, but it doesn't include Botox, which I think you can mess somebody else up worse with blood pressure medicine than you can with a little bit of Botox.
I know. It's ridiculous. It's just absolutely asinine. I know. So you have this non-compete. How long is that for?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. So you still have a little while before you can do cosmetic stuff, correct?
Theoretically, yes. If it comes to the point of that this business is booming and I'm ready to expand into other arenas, then I'll see you in court, try to enforce it.
Listen, non-competes are very, very rarely ever held up. Okay. They're just not. As long as there's no wording in the contract that says something about solicitation of previous patients. But if it's just like, then you might, get in some trouble.
40-mile radius, and she
Yeah, these non-competes,
has all of Northern Jacksonville.
They're bullshit. They're bullshit.
Yes.
They're not going to be held up in court. Okay. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but let's just focus on, maybe in the future.
I'm not poking the bear yet.
Right.
I've already been poked by a bear. I do not want to go for another one. Let's just, I think it was like $1,300 hiring a patent attorney to tell the other guy, like, here's what we're doing, and go home and sit down, So we're not getting into any more legal stuff yet.
No, it's not. Right. It's usually not worth it. So you have this IV infusion clinic. It's essentially in the infancy stages, really. I mean, you haven't put a whole lot of effort into this thing yet. It doesn't really sound like you've put a tremendous amount of time or energy into this. So with that said, you just left your job. So are your personal finances okay? Like, do you need this income like immediately? Like, how are you looking there?
I have about a 6-month reserve.
Okay. So you have a 6-month emergency fund. Yeah.
Yes. I inherited some stocks and some, I have annuities and things like that. If I, God forbid, the plan is 6 months. If I need to go a little bit longer, that's fine. But within 6 months, I should be able to get this off the ground and get it running, especially with me being into it full time and just grinding and pounding the pavement. It should be somewhere profitable soon.
Yeah. So financially, you're pretty secure. You have resources. Yes. So you're not like going to be super stressed out here. You don't need money to pay rent on Friday kind of a thing.
No.
Right. With that said, how much money do you have to invest in this to get it off the ground? Essentially, how much money do you have to invest in marketing this thing and getting it going?
So I have about 10 to 15,000 to just fully, just full send into it.
IV infusion, I think, is one of those things that, you should get the word out, more of an awareness kind of thing. So you advertise so people are aware that you even exist, right? But a lot of the times people are looking for you so they can feel better. They feel like total dog, They feel like total dog shit. I mean, they're just hungover. They're willing to pay $150 for an infusion, or they get COVID and they want an immune boosting infusion, whatever, right? So they're looking for you. So with that said, I think that a lot of your energy, time, and money needs to be put into your SEO strategy for sure. Getting your website up, ranking really high on Google and Bing searches. Getting those Google reviews there. Okay. So this is more like organic traffic. So people are looking for you and you're popping up, right?
Okay.
So you're going to do that by having a lot of content on your website. The more content you have on your website, the higher you should rank, okay, in theory. And I think that maybe hiring an SEO specialist, paying them maybe a couple $1,000s to get on your website and to really do some significant optimization on your site might be worthwhile as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because I really think this is just a search issue.
Yes.
I think that people just need to find you.
Correct. I mean, that's part of the things that I've been looking at and researching other larger franchised IV companies that have expanded. There's one that started off in Las Vegas and they're in Miami now. They're slowly growing to other areas, looking at their website, seeing what they're doing, even looking at their websites for some of the content to things that I can write about, things that I can, look. I mean, we're all nurse practitioners. We all know how to do research and write a paper. So right. See what the searches are.
So does this big company have like a blog? They have articles and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, they have those for a reason. So, they have more keywords.
So they show up on organic search. Yes.
Exactly. So on your downtime, I think you need to be writing articles. I think you need to be publishing probably a new article weekly,
Okay.
even if it's just a really simple 500 word kind of thing. Okay. Very few people will probably
Okay.
actually read these. So it
Right.
doesn't really matter that much, right? You're just wanting to put a lot of keywords in there just to increase your
Hmm.
content, which will increase your rankings. So definitely do that. But like I said, I think maybe hiring an SEO specialist, maybe a couple $1,000, something like that, I
Okay.
think would probably benefit you a lot. If you want, I can get you in contact with my web developer. He is also an SEO guy, so you can talk to him. He should be
Okay.
able to get you a
Yeah,
deal.
that'd be
Yeah. So,
great.
but you're also going to maybe do some paid advertising too, just for
Sure.
awareness. Yeah. And
Yes.
then be thinking about maybe IV infusions that might not necessarily be something someone's looking for, but something that would provoke them to be like, oh, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. Like maybe
Uh-huh.
something they could have before they go on a marathon, or a
Yes.
beauty enhancing infusion, things like that, right? They might not be
Right.
looking for those. So you put that in front of their face, they see it, and
Right.
they're like, oh, well, that sounds kind of cool, right?
And
So yeah, so you
I
can definitely
have
do that.
those on my site, just different ones. Hangover, I mean, everybody focuses on hangover relief, but immunity builder. Also, I have looked at other larger companies too to kind of see what kind of IVs they offer, just to kind of get. I mean, and again, it's not rocket science to figure out the recipes that these other companies have, and we're all using the same ingredients or similar ingredients. So there's a lot of overlap between the bags too.
Yeah, most of the recipes are very similar in nature with a few
Yes.
adjustments. So I think that if you can maybe dedicate $5,000 to $8,000 for
Uh-huh.
marketing over a period of 3 to 4 months, I think it would definitely pay off. And then, after 6 to 12 months, word of mouth begins, your Google rankings start
Right.
ranking higher, you get more and more reviews and so forth and so forth, and it just organically grows from there.
Okay.
You have lots of time here though, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're not really doing anything else right now.
No.
How much time do you want to spend on this business?
I mean, right now I've been essentially doing get up and I go to quote unquote work. So just doing research on just finished a Udemy class on how to do Google ads. That's my next thing, is that really kind of figuring out this marketing side of things. And that's where it's going to be at.
Yeah, marketing is the number one function of your business. You as the business owner really should understand how
Yes.
to do it. No, I agree. But you still have lots of time. I mean, you can't spend 40 hours a week marketing. You know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't take that much time
Right.
to do it unless you were just out there waving signs and, on the street and that kind of stuff,
Right.
Right.
Well, that's one of my ideas, is to go to the gyms in the area and just say, hey, if you know anybody, or if you're looking for, I have this one for repair and recover. I can pre-hydrate you before you go to the gym, give you these
Yeah.
vitamins that'll give you energy and give you a better workout. Some nurse practitioners opened up a family practice, so right next door to me. So going over there and saying, hey, do you think, if you have any patients who are looking for these things, I'd be more than happy to service them. There's
Yeah.
a few plastic surgeons around, so offering pre-surgical and post-surgical IVs. Either they can do it before they go in for surgery, or they can go to their homes or they can, when they come back in for their post-op visit, they can get an IV come right down the street and come visit me and get an IV in the office.
Right. So just some good old fashioned boots to the ground footwork marketing.
Yes.
I mean, that works really, really well. I mean, especially if you can get into places where these patients are. I mean, it sounds like you have a good understanding of that. See if you can even get some paid ads, maybe in the gyms as well. Might be worthwhile.
Okay.
Some ads in some bars might be a good idea. Some bars
Okay.
and clubs and that sort of stuff, like something like, are you expecting a hangover tomorrow? Well, we'll be here tomorrow. Call, whatever.
Right.
We'll get you infused, or,
Right.
Stuff like that might work.
Back of the door, hanging a little paper holder things in the bathroom.
Exactly. It works. But yeah, so I think that'd be a good idea. I mean, you have the time for it. Why not? Right.
Yes.
But
right.
You have this unlimited amount of time, essentially. I mean, why corner yourself in with just IV infusion here? I mean, you have
Okay.
time. You are in this salon, right? So there's patients there. They're looking for probably cosmetic skincare products. They're looking maybe for hormone replacement therapy, weight loss. I mean, the patients are right there for you, and you have time. So what's stopping you from integrating some more services into this? I mean, if I had, 30 to 40 hours a week just to dedicate to my practice, I'd probably do just a little bit more than testosterone replacement therapy and that kind of stuff. I'd probably just do a little bit more, So I think it might not be a bad idea to try that and see what happens.
That's a good idea too. I'm not in a salon. I'm in a office with massage therapists.
Okay.
But yes, my only issue with that is I don't want to seem like I'm poaching their 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 customers. So I've told them, I'm like, look, if and one of the girls, one of them does massage, the other one does I think she's an esthetician, so she does facials and things like that. But I do need to, when I see her, I do need to approach her and say, hey, if you're, looking as an adjunct, or give you a little referral fee or something like that. I did speak to the massage therapist who is there and said, I know you recommend them drinking a lot of water. You can always send them over to me and I can hook them up for the IV and they can flush out their system that way.
Sure. I think you might want to pick their brains as well and ask them,
Okay.
is there anything in particular that your customers talk to you about or request? I mean, either hormone replacement therapy or maybe things to help reduce their pain, the inflammation. I mean, there's so many different things you could do here. I mean, you could do trigger point injections on them before the massage. I mean, there's so many things you could do.
Correct.
Yeah. Like imagine doing some trigger point injections into someone, maybe around someone's scapula, a little bit of steroid, a little bit of lidocaine, and you do a trigger point injection. And then an hour later, they go in for the massage. I mean, something like that could work too. There's a lot of different options you could do.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Or if you want to just advertise something just completely separate, maybe not even, utilize the customers that they have, just advertise something different. Is there something in the area that you feel like is maybe in demand or something that's needed?
Gosh, I haven't thought about that. Jacksonville's pretty big. So
Jacksonville's big.
It's huge.
It's right. I mean, how long does it take you to drive across Jackson, the metropolitan?
Probably an hour.
About an hour to drive across
30
the city,
minutes,
right?
30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes across the city, but it's like spread out. So from where I would go to the other side of Jacksonville would take me about an hour. It's huge.
Right. So it's almost like little towns within the city, right?
Yes,
so, I mean,
correct.
Right. I mean, people would much rather drive 5 minutes to you versus 30 to 45 minutes across town. Right.
Correct.
And so you might want to do a little research here and just take a look in your area, within maybe a 10 to 15 minute drive of your office, see what is available and see what isn't.
Okay.
Various different things, I mean, aesthetics, weight loss, hormone replacement therapy, functional medicine, integrative medicine. I mean, there's so many different things you can do here, right?
Well, that's one of the things that I'm going to integrate too is the functional medicine.
Well, what's stopping you from doing that?
I am waiting for there's a program that I'm waiting for to open up to start doing that as well. I mean, I feel like I'm sort of doing functional medicine with the IV infusions. A lot of this is based upon, vitamins and how they interact with your body and making you feel better and non-pharmacological treatments and managements of symptoms.
And optimizing hormones and those sorts of things.
Yes, correct.
Right. It might be something to look into. Maybe just integrate, another service or two. You have time here. So I think that, I think you just need to do a little bit of market research and figure out what's within 10 to 15 minutes of you. And if there's not a whole lot of something, then deliver the demand.
Right.
I'm assuming you want to stay away from insurance and those kinds of things, right?
Yes. It's not a big issue if I needed to throw women's health in. The issue right now is I have a very, very tiny, small office, and it literally is a room. So I thought about eventually expanding back into women's health, which is huge. I feel like it's huge here in Jacksonville, but at the same time, it would require. Then I'm back at, I need a special table and I need, speculums, things like that. And so because I'm very comfortable with women's health, I mean, that again, swinging back into that would be, I really would like to focus on having an established business and then moving into renting a larger space and maybe integrating some of that other items into my practice.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. Now, what about like a high-end women's health concierge kind of practice, like hormone replacement therapy, general women's health needs, sexual health, these sorts of things?
Okay.
Make it more of a concierge model, a concierge kind of practice that's high-end.
Yes.
People pay a monthly fee, a subscription fee. You don't need multiple exam rooms and stuff. It can be done out of a little office.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, like I see what you're saying. It's like almost model what you do in men's health versus model that as under women's health with the hormone, because then you're not really doing gynecological exams and things like that.
Correct. You could if you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
You could if you wanted to. Right.
Right.
And but you could maybe take care of all their female needs. You could order the mammograms for them. Like you could follow them, but it's just more of a high-end concierge thing. They pay you $200 a month, for example. And that includes the hormones, but it also covers just their basic female needs as well.
Okay. That's a good idea too.
Yeah. If you have 100 patients, 200 patients, I mean, you're talking about a significant amount of money if you're charging $200 a month, and you're only seeing these people once every 3 months, 3 or 4 months, at most. I don't know. Food for thought. I'm just kind of thinking of some other things.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I'm just making notes to myself.
Yeah, I mean, you're already an expert at women's health. I mean, utilize that knowledge. If you did that, I would probably have that as a separate business or a DBA underneath the IV business itself, so that way you can advertise it as a women's concierge thing. You know what I mean?
Right now I'm kind of in the ritzy area of Jacksonville. There's Jacksonville Beach, and then the next little, I don't know, whatever you call it, township over is Ponte Vedra. And so that is where the wealthy of Jacksonville lives. So going back to the name change, when we changed our name of our business, we got away from the hydro and water and all of that kind of idea. So we changed from Hydro IV Lounge to Indigo Via with the intention of expanding services, because if I do Hydro IV Lounge, that kind of locks me into just doing name wise or branding wise. You're kind of like, oh, Hydro IV Lounge, and they do Botox and fillers. That just, so we felt like Indigo Via was a much more neutral name.
Absolutely. It's called what? Indigo what?
Via, VIA.
What's that mean?
It's just a name we thought we made up.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, I dig it. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I thought it was catchy. It was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Indigo Via, or blue. It's like, basically, if you broke it down, it's a blue way or a blue pathway. So
yeah,
it's the like color and Via.
Yeah.
It's
I like it.
Kind of. I mean, it's just trying to find a name for your company where you can have the domain name. I mean, it's insane. Like there's a ton of businesses or a ton of people in China who have just snatched up all the www.whatever.com. So it's becoming more and more difficult for people to find names that they want to use.
Correct.
So you almost have to kind of go rogue on finding a name and, that doesn't have a domain that's already been taken, that doesn't have a Facebook account name that's already been taken, an Instagram, all the, so it's quite challenging.
Well, I mean, I think you did a good job. I think that name's great. Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, for sure. So your branding can be that name, and then underneath it, IV and nutrient hydration, or concierge women's health and HRT. So you can have little subheadings underneath it, and that could be your branding and your marketing, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and then that way, the sign, in your office just has the name of the practice, not the subheading underneath it.
Correct.
Right, but the marketing materials have the subheading. Yeah. So okay, no, cool. I definitely like that idea. All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening, and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all elite nurse practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free, and then other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode. With the IV infusion. So I guess what's the next step you're going to do here? Are you just going to go out and just start marketing it and see what happens?
Well, I mean, that's the next step. The next step is to get Google Ads running and optimized, and to the point where I'm beating out all the other competitions. So any ad that is shown, my ad is first on the page. I've been building out my blog so that I can, like you said, show up in organic searches. So it's not like, hey, buy my IV, but it's like, hey, here's some information and give that value added proposition. By the way, if you're interested in this, we do service this and we do give this. So, just really kind of approaching it from an educational place or value added place so that I'm not constantly all the time salesy.
I think that's a great plan. I really do. I think that you took one hell of a risk quitting your job to throw all your time and energy into this. But I feel like that if you market this correctly, deliver convenient care, offer great customer service, I think it'll be worth your while. You're taking a risk here, but you have the financial means to back you up here. So you're not super stressed out.
No.
So you're in a great situation. I think, I applaud you for.
So, I mean, like I said, the decision to quit my job was that I was devoting, again, with that sales job. I mean, I'm a nurse practitioner making $42 an hour and scraping by for bonuses, right? So like that doesn't sit well with me.
Screw that.
I know, screw that. So, but the amount of mental energy it takes to sell something, to upsell somebody something, it was just like, I come home and I'm exhausted and I'm like, how am I going to, run an empire when I'm constantly mentally, exhausted from trying to make my boss money, whereas I'm trying to make myself money. That was the catalyst for me saying, you know what, I'm giving you my 6-week notice, I'm out of here. So,
it takes
some people. I could do
it. You can do this. I mean, listen, you had this realization fairly early in your career. I mean, there's so many people that never, ever have this epiphany. They never have this realization, they just go to their jobs mindlessly and do their thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for someone with a mind like yours, I get it. You're never going to be satisfied. You're never going to be happy. So again, I applaud you for taking the risk, jumping right into this. I mean, I think that.
Thank you. Well, I have a very strong work ethic and I always wondered, like, my work ethic is so strong. Like, why can't I find the job that I want? And it really wasn't the job. I'm like, would look at other people. I'm like, how are you happy with the status quo? How do you go to work every day and you just things could be so much better, but you're just happy with the way it is? And I couldn't sit with that. So I think a lot of us who are in the healthcare industry are, taught to be order takers or not, that not critically think, even though that's really pushed in nursing school. Your hospital administration and bosses kind of tell you, don't critically think, do as I say. And it just never sat well with me.
No, you're definitely in opposition of all that bullshit. That's good. That's good. Yeah, don't bend over and take this shit from these people. Like these corporate thugs in healthcare. That's what they are. They're thugs. Yes. They prey on us.
It extends even to the not-for-profit. I mean, I worked for Planned Parenthood, like trying to fight the good fight for women's rights and health. And, I don't care what your personal beliefs are, but at the end of the day, I'm a provider. So what I believe about abortion should not enter into your belief system about abortion and women's reproductive rights and, healthcare for the LGBTQIA, like all of that. That is it's not my place to judge you. It's my place to make sure that you're safe and healthy. And so, but even in the not-for-profit, I mean, it was worse than corporate or as bad as.
Yeah.
So
it's still all about the numbers. I've done not-for-profit stuff.
And I do understand that. Yes. I mean, it's about the numbers, but there's just inefficiencies in the system. And I'm like, gosh, I just can't let it go. I'm just, I'm not happy.
Right. No, I get it. How old are you?
I am 47.
47. Okay. So, I mean, listen, you're starting now. It's not too late by any stretch of the imagination. You still have plenty of time here to build this practice up and see it really, really flourish. So I think that for you to grow this to any significant extent, you need to keep in the back of your mind that you're going to have to hire some staff. You're going to have to hire some RNs
Yes.
to go out there and do the infusions for you. You're going to need to integrate some additional services in here too. I think it'd be stupid not to at first. I just don't know I don't know what kind of volume there's going to be here for you. If this could truly be a full-time thing, I just don't know. It would be great if it turns into a full-time thing. But the thing you have to remember about IV infusion here is that it's a volume game for it to generate any kind of significant profit. Okay. And so if you're mobile going to people's houses, you can only do one infusion at a time. Or if there's a couple people in the house, you can maybe do 2 or 3 or something, but you're still limited to being at that house. So it's a volume game. So you will never be able to have the volume that will create a significant profit like you could if you had an office. You know what I mean? Like if you had an office that had 8 infusion chairs, you could have 8 infusions going at the same time versus the 1 or 2 you could have at a house. So for growth purposes here, you need to be thinking, is this office that I'm in right now, is it the most ideal place for me to be in? I think that what might happen with you over the next 6 months is that you're going to be driving yourself crazy, driving all these places, and you're looking at the numbers and you're just be like, man, I could really probably make a lot more money if I maybe could do 3 or 4 infusions at a time in the office. So
I have the office, I have the ability to do about 2 infusions at one time. And then I have a couple of chairs set up where I can do 2 infusions. And then also I have the option to do the mobile side of it too. Because what I found is when we tell people, oh, we're mobile, they're like, oh, you're mobile. And it kind of creeped them out that we'd come to their house. So I like to think I'm an unassuming person, but, I wanted to have that physical location again to gain legitimacy too. That there is this is not some random person, even though I tell them I'm a nurse practitioner, like, how do I know you're not going to rob me or something? Having that physical location kind of gives them a little bit of comfort to that, I can go find somebody somewhere, in that too. So
yeah, I think you should offer both. I mean, and you are, right? So they can either come and get there or you can go to their house. And I think you should maintain that model.
Okay.
Maybe as you grow, so let's say 6 months from now, you decide to get an office, you can do maybe 8 infusions there. Maybe you have an exam room or something as well. Have it as a service for the mobile, but charge an extra $20 or $30 convenience fee or something for it.
We have a $50 convenience fee that we charge. And so the goal is to have, get the business to a place where it's somewhat profitable. It have at least a year of, where I can go to the bank and say, hey, or I can go to a leasing office and say, hey, a commercial leasing and say, hey, this is my business. This isn't what I'm making. And so therefore, I'm not required to put down such a huge deposit. My rent is probably going to be less because they want to see, if you go in as a new business, they're gonna ring you. So that's the other reason that I started with an office within an office.
Smart. It's a smart move. Yeah.
I also have a real estate license, and my fiance is a realtor, so I have a little bit of an inside scoop.
Yeah. There you go. No, it's really, really smart. Yeah. Okay. So So I mean, you already got the plan in your mind here. I mean, it sounds like you're just at the cusp here of this thing, exponentially growing.
I think so. I really do. I think I just need to hold my breath a little bit longer. I think I'm gonna, I hope, but I believe that, we're going to be successful. We're going to be able to, it's just that little blip in our timeline of not being able to do anything with our name. It was a good 2 or 3 months before we were, because we were just starting to get ramped up. We were just starting to see Google Analytics go up. We were just starting to see people were finding us. And then we went radio silence because of this potential litigation that we had. So
you basically had to restart. It's a complete restart, essentially. Right.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. You have everything here. You have all the ingredients to start a successful business, basically. You have time, you have courage, and you have some money. Those are the 3 things you really need to start a business, and you have all 3. So there's no reason why, with those ingredients, you can't cook up a profitable, successful practice. And there's just no reason whatsoever. You have the most valuable resource of all, and that's time. So
correct.
Yeah. I have no time right now to start another business. I don't. I would love to, but I have no time. You have all the time in the world here. So you have the most valuable resource, which is time. And so that's on your side here. And I I don't know. I don't see how this won't succeed if you nurture it and do everything right. So.
Correct. That's the heart, doing everything right. Do you have any suggestions as far as this ramps up? Because I feel like as soon as we start really implementing, like I said, Google Ads and getting Facebook up and running, and we're doing Instagram and trying just to get some organic traffic on the Instagram and Facebook, but that comes slow because they keep on changing their platforms and who can see what. But at what point do you have any suggestions when this really starts going? That at what point do you think I should hire a nurse? Just kind of a general.
So it's time to hire an employee when you're pulling your hair out from the stress. Okay. When you're getting to the point where you're losing sleep, it's no longer fun anymore. It feels more like work. All right.
Uh-huh.
When you start getting to that point, you will know when you get to this point. You will know. Okay.
Okay.
And also when you are giving up business. And so when people are calling you, you're getting lots of phone calls, you don't have time to go out there, or you're booking people out, a couple days in advance or even a week in advance, those sorts of things. That's when it's time to get some help, because now you're giving up business, and the business that you gave up could have paid for that RN, for example.
Sure.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. And so I think you'll just know. I think you will know.
Okay.
Yeah. When you start losing business and you're giving up money, it's time to hire someone else. And also when you're just stressed out and it feels like work. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. That's fair enough.
Do you have any other questions at all?
I think that is it. I mean, that's, basically I had down what were some of the suggestions that you like as far as getting business or other methods of making more money. Is there anything that you suggest that I do on social media? And I think we kind of touched on that of doing organic blogs and things like that. I have started recording videos, shortened versions of the blog. So something that's 2 to 3 minutes, just so people can see my face and say, hey, there's a person associated. I'm really trying to stay away from stock photos because I know Facebook and Instagram don't like that. They can read it. Any other suggestions?
Make sure you have some sort of offer in your ads. Okay. Free B12 shot with your infusion, or a free B12 push, or glutathione push half off, or something like that. Like you need to offer something, just to start building this up. The offer's very, very powerful. And if you have a time limit associated with it, it causes an urgency. So, schedule your first IV and receive a free glutathione push this week only, that kind of thing. Create urgency. So create urgency and provide an offer. If you do those two things, your ads will perform a lot better.
Okay. So you said create urgency and have an offer.
Have an offer. Provide something free that doesn't cost you anything. B12's dirt cheap, for example.
Yeah, sure.
Most of these things are not really that expensive. So, you being out 50 cents or $1 is nothing when you're charging $150 for the infusion.
Sure. Yeah. Stay away from Groupon too.
Yeah, Groupon can work in some situations.
Groupon is like the mafia. Like they take half of your, I don't know if you've done Groupon lately, they take half, whatever you like, say you're giving 75% off and it's like $75 for the IV infusion. Groupon's taking half.
Yeah, screw that. Yeah. That's ridiculous. That's too much. Yeah. Just have an offer. Maybe even have an offer on your Google Ads too. Okay. Yeah. If someone looks up your IV infusion clinic, they're in Florida in the area, and, all these IV infusion clinics are popping up, but you have an ad there that says free B12 shot. They're probably going to click on your ad, right?
Sure.
So
people love to get something for free. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions?
I think that's it. Thank you so much, Justin.
You are welcome. Hey, listen, I like to end the episode with you asking me a question. Do you have any questions for me?
I'm trying to think of a good question to ask. Where did you get this idea to start this Elite NP? I mean, you're brave to start this, and you're the one who's given everyone courage to start their. I have two friends that I have referred. Well, my first friend, she referred your website to me, and then I started following you. I started the journey to start my own business, and her seeing that I could do it, she also did the same thing in Colorado. I have another coworker / friend that I worked with who is a nurse midwife. Same story, burned out. She was a DON for the health department, and she said it just became a hostile situation. And she's like, I'm looking for a job. And I'm like, well, you are smart enough and you know women's health better than anybody else I know. You're my resource. So I'm like, why don't you start your own business? So she's opening up a brick and mortar, and I think next year.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
So how did you, what was the precipice of you, wanting to help the rest of us?
Just seeing just the shit show of our profession of what's going on. I mean, seeing NPs getting paid less and less and less as inflation goes up and up and up, and seeing these salaries of these hospital CEOs. And, they have the audacity to pay us $45 an hour when they're giving themselves $1 million Christmas bonuses. Yeah. I mean,
right.
I was working for this corporate healthcare system. I was doing their urgent care, and the director, not even like the CEO, vice president, just like the director of provider services, got like a $250,000 Christmas bonus. I'm sitting there just like, this is ridiculous. I paid that guy's Christmas bonus, working my ass off. Screw this. I'm sick of making these sharks money. And so I got out there, I started my own practice. I took the big risk. I took the leap like you did. I saw how easy it was. It's really not that hard.
It's not that hard.
No, it's not that hard. Right. And so I'm sitting there doing this. I'm just like, I always had kind of a presence online on Facebook groups and message boards and stuff. And I just kind of just started chatting with people on Reddit. And I just found I was just like, I really, really like helping people do this. So I was like, well, I'll just take a risk and start this Elite NP and go out on a limb and see what happens. And well, I mean, it just kind of blew up after that. So yeah, there was a lot of pushback. I had a lot of haters, especially from a lot of these doctor groups and stuff. Oh yeah.
Yes. For sure. Our AMA here is awful. Like, we just got the right to prescribe narcotics, and they're like, well, if you want to prescribe narcotics, then you have to watch our continuing ed. Even if you don't want to prescribe narcotics, how dare you even ask us if we can do this? Because nurse practitioners obviously are the cause of the pill mills.
Yeah.
Not
right. It's total
like, we
bullshit.
couldn't even prescribe it. I know, but
yeah.
So the AMA makes you buy their educational continuing ed, and then you have to join the AMA if you want to get a discount. But you have to be a doctor or a PA to be able to join their AMA. I'm like, wait a minute, this is not fair.
All these sharks. There's too many people take advantage of nurse practitioners. I mean, it's just god awful. So yeah, that's pretty much why I started. I was just like, I'm just sick and tired of seeing all my colleagues get just walked all over. So hopefully next 5 to 10 years, I would love to see maybe a quarter of all nurse practitioners in this country just giving the middle finger to the healthcare system and have their own practice.
Right.
I would love to see that.
Right.
It makes me so happy.
Oh, I hope so. I feel like I have mixed feelings about functional medicine, because when I did my research into functional medicine, I'm like, wait a minute, this is the nursing model. This is the holistic view of the patient that we've all been taught and have been taught to operate in. And y'all are just taking that and calling it functional medicine. What?
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, this is nursing.
Yep. Well, you have any other final questions for me at all? This was a pretty good conversation.
I do not. I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I don't think I would have had the courage or the cojones or the knowledge or anything without having taken your classes, having followed you on Facebook and read your blogs and your posts and all of that. So thank you so much. And you've got three of us to do something we never thought we could do.
You are welcome. There's a lot of MPs too. That are doing this. And listen, even this podcast episode that we just recorded, they're going to hear your story and you're going to be part of motivating maybe someone out there to get started. So just a giant circle.
I hope so. It's a ripple effect for sure.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So, well, hey, listen, Laura, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I hope everyone enjoyed the conversation with Laura. Laura went out on a limb. She took a risk. She quit her job because she was sick of enriching someone else. She was being walked all over, getting paid a measly amount of money for the amount of money she was producing. And so she took a risk, quit her job, and went straight into her business, even though her business really isn't even profitable. All right. So you need to walk away from this understanding that you have to take a risk if you want to start a business. Okay. Every single business requires taking a risk. You have to have courage, you have to have some time, and you have to have money to start a business, okay? Courage is one of the most important factors there because you have to understand that anytime you start a business, there is a risk involved. Liabilities, the amount of money that you could lose, and those sorts of things. The good news is, though, is that with these little side practices, the risk really isn't that high. You might be out $5,000 to $10,000 at most. While that sounds like a lot of money, it's really not that much money in the grand scheme of business, especially if it succeeds, okay? So you need to understand that you have to take a risk. Everyone's risk tolerance is going to be different. There are risk tolerance calculators online. You can look them up. You can take these little questionnaires, determine what your risk tolerance is. Laura obviously has a high risk tolerance, all right? I have a pretty high risk tolerance as well. If you look at very successful entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires, they all have high risk tolerances. You have to be willing to take a risk. So ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? The business fails and you go back to work. That's the most likely situation here. So if she could take a risk, I could take a risk, you can too, right? It usually will pay off. Hope everyone enjoyed that episode. I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2022 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.